believe this is on, right? Okay. Good morning. Thank you all for being here, and just thank you for being at our missions conference. Just to remind some of you, if you don't already know, that Frontline is part of the Grace Gospel Fellowship. And the Grace Gospel Fellowship, we have two mission organizations, GMI, Grace Ministries International, TCM, Things to Come Missions. And we support missionaries in those organizations. And right now, we have three of those missionaries here today who are going to be presenting. We have Frosty and his wife, Cathy. We have Givemore and his wife, Sylvia, and Joseph and Emanuela, who are here today. And they're going to be presenting their ministries in the service this morning and also in our Bible hour. So, Frosty, if you can come up and share with us, please.
Good morning, Frontline. What a wonderful time of worship we had this morning. It just makes me want to preach, John. Go ahead. Well, as Joe said, we are Frosty and Cathy Hansen, and we have been privileged to work with Grace Ministries International in the country of Bolivia in South America.
Bolivia is located in the heart of Central America, landlocked country. It has high plains and mountains of the Andes, but we were privileged to live in the tropical area of Santa Cruz, a city of 2 million people, right in the tropics, and beautiful city. Catholicism still has a huge influence in Bolivia, but it's really become more nominal for a lot of the people. And we were just privileged to be able to have complete freedom to share the gospel of the grace of God with people in Bolivia. We went to Bolivia first in 1993, and we've seen lots of changes over the years as the city has grown. Buildings have sprung up, modern malls, but Bolivia is still one of the poorest countries in Latin America with a poverty rate of about 40%. This statue of the Christ, the Cristo, is one of the main intersections coming into the city. It's been a site of political rallies, protests, and even a huge prayer vigil one time.
The work in Bolivia actually started in 1951 when Bethesda Church in Minneapolis, Minnesota, sent 3 missionaries to work with children. And one of their main goals was to start an orphanage. The picture at the top is one of those first missionaries. The woman that's Dorothy Perkins when she came down. She later married Eduardo Matias, so it's Dorothy Matias. The 2 little boys there, the one with the smile on his face, always smiling, is their son Joe. The one who looks like he doesn't know what's going on is John. And Dorothy, as a matter of fact, was the longest serving missionary in Bolivia. As I said, she was one of the first missionaries there with Bethesda Mission at that time, 1951, until she retired in 1993 as a widow. The couple right below them is Arnie and Sally Selfers, who are also long-term missionaries. The little girl there is their daughter Sandy. Some of you may know her as Sandy Tenhove, the wife of Don Tenhove, who used to work as well for GMI. In 2019, Arnie and his 3 kids came down to visit Bolivia one last time, and also Joe brought his 2 sons down. We had just a wonderful time of celebrating what God has done there in Bolivia over the years. What started out as an orphanage turned into 3 schools, kindergarten through 12th grade, plus theological training, and as it says on the screen, 20 churches. We as a family, our time there really was my time. 1970 to 71, I took a year off of my studies at what was then Grace Bible College and went as a short-term missionary. I lived with the Selfers. The idea was to see what missions were like. And when I got there, Sally said, you're stuck. I'm not so sure, but I was. God laid a love for the Bolivians and a love for the country in my heart. And when I graduated, I met Cathy and we got married. The Lord led us into pastoral ministry until 1992 when we went down for a visit as Dorothy was getting ready to retire. And God showed both of us, this is where I want you to serve. And at that point in time, we returned as a family to Bolivia. Later, it was just us and our 2 sons, and then we were there alone until 2004 when we left Bolivia and I became president of the Grace Gospel Fellowship. Then when I retired from the GGF in 2016, the Lord laid on our hearts once again to return to the field, and we've been there for the last 5 years. When we went with twofold goals. The first was to reestablish theological training. Our pastoral base was getting older. We didn't have a lot of young pastors, and our young people really wanted to know more about the Bible, more about theology, and so Bolivia was asking please to reopen a training center. So that was one of our goals, and the other was ongoing education for pastors. None of our pastors were ordained at that time, and so we wanted to continue teaching them so that they can reach that process of ordination.
When we went in the 90s, again, as Frosty said, one of our goals was theological education, and Frosty began teaching using a classroom at Henry Prince School, which was the property right next to where we lived in Santa Cruz. We used a classroom, and we had to work around the school schedule, and it wasn't really the best process. So in 2000, with the help of donations and the Bolivians working towards it too, we were able to build the upper building, which is just 1 floor. It had an office for the national organization, an office for the missionaries, and 1 large classroom that we were using. But it was still very limiting for what we really wanted to do in theological education. So when we came back in 2017, the first floor of the building was built with the possibility of having a second floor. It even had stairs that didn't go anywhere. So that was our goal, to build this second floor, and in July of 2018, the building was dedicated. It has a large classroom. It has 2 smaller classrooms, a lovely little library with some computers available, office space, reception area, just a great building for us to use, very usable space. And we started in 2018 with some workshops. In 2019, we were learning how to do theological education, learning what was really needed. And Paulo came to join us. Paulo Vergara came to help in that teaching. So in 2020, we were ready. The school year goes from February through October. We were ready with a full 3-year program, 3 trimesters a year. We had 4 teachers, classes 4 nights a week. We started gung-ho. It was so exciting to see the students come every night, eager to study,
COVID.
Eager to participate.
And then COVID hit, and it changed everything. We were told that all education, first, everything was closed down in Bolivia. Everything. Couldn't go outside your property, couldn't get in cars. Everything was closed till they found out that people needed to buy groceries. And so then the grocery stores were open from 7 to 11 each day, depending on the number of your ID. That was the day that you could go and buy groceries, so it was very, very limited. They finally started opening up a few more things, but education was not open. And they were fearful that would cause more of a spread. They said it would be at first for 2 weeks, and then they said, well, maybe it'll be a month, and then maybe 2 months. Well, COVID, basically we were closed down in March, and when August came around, we said, we're never going to have classes again if we keep waiting. And so we started investigating online education. For us, it was a challenge. None of the people who taught with us, none of our schools, nobody really had done online education before. And so we had to get a platform, we had to find out how to run it. So there was a lot of learning. Our students needed to find out how to do it. The problem was many of them didn't have computers, and so they were going to come online with their cell phones. In order to do that, they needed data. They didn't have money to buy the data, so we did lose some students as a result of that. But God opened up new doors. And eventually, as things have moved along, and we continue with online education, at least for now, and soon we're hoping to have in-person and online at the same time, God opened the doors so that we were able to have students from other countries. We were able to have teachers from other countries. Corey Hodgson, who's a missionary in Paraguay, taught one of our classes this last trimester. And we've had as many as 60 students studying in one trimester. And just been exciting to see how God has blessed in that way. At the same time, I was continuing to work with pastors. We had to go online for that as well, teaching them theology, or basically ongoing education with theology, dispensational theology, and also pastoral theology. And thank God that we're able to have some men ordained now and to see them growing and excited as they're taking more and more leadership in the ministries of our mission there in Bolivia.
One of the areas that I've always been involved in missions, and even in the States, is women's ministries. I love getting together with women and encourage them. The Bolivian Mission Organization has a women's committee that helps plan retreats and conferences, even prayer vigils, and we visit the different churches in our Santa Cruz area. There are 11 churches just in our area, and we have visited them, the women's organizations, and encouraged them, and I love being able to be involved in that. Both Frosty and I have been involved in discipleship of young men and women, and it's really exciting when these young people approach us, old people, and say, would you please mentor me, teach me, help me so that I can be better equipped to teach somebody else, to mentor those younger than me or the people that I'm working with. One of the exciting things about our return to Bolivia was to see the changes and the growth in other people. Some people that we knew as children or teenagers before. The little girl to my left, your right, with the pink headband, is Beth Ortega. And when we went in 1992, I didn't speak any Spanish. I spent time with kids. Now I came back. I had her in Awana. I had her in a teenage Sunday school class. Lily now has always had a heart for missions, a heart to serve the Lord. She is serving as a full-time missionary with Grace Ministries in Nicaragua. It's just a huge blessing to see what God has done in her life. And I could tell you stories about other people like that we have seen grow and change and are in leadership now because of the influence that they have received from the training and the encouragement they have received.
One young girl who I had in a Sunday school class at one time also had a real heart for missions. And she right now is in Kyrgyzstan. And she is preparing to go into China and do some pioneering missionary work in China. So that's exciting. She finished up her classes with our training center. She finished up her classes online. She was taking classes, a class from Corey Hodgson, which started on Saturdays at 2 o'clock Bolivia time, which was midnight in Kyrgyzstan. But she was there finishing up her studies, and it was really exciting to see what God's doing in her life as well. The Lord has also opened up a number of opportunities for our churches to meet social needs. Our church near us, Emmanuel Church, had a situation in which people who were homeless people lived in a canal right by the church, broke in one night, stole their sound equipment, stole guitars, stole everything else, took them out, sold them so they can get money for whatever they needed money with. God used that in an amazing way. Some of the young people from the church went under the bridge there in the canal to find out what happened to all of this equipment. They saw the situation and they said, we need to minister to these people. And so that church at that time started what's called Dar Ministry, which is a really active ministry in which they are ministering to homeless people. Once a month they have them come in, have medical care. The young man in the red in that upper picture there he was a Sparky student of Cathy way back a number of years ago. Now he's a medical doctor and very, very active in the Lord's work as well. But we're able to provide a lot of things for these people, and through this, have opportunity to share the gospel with them.
Another ministry that some of you may have heard of is the breakfast ministry to children in our rural church near the camp. It's about 2 hours from where we live in Santa Cruz, in a poor area of serving breakfast to children on Sunday morning before Sunday school. This ministry was really started by Dan and Mary Sue Reed, former missionaries in Bolivia, who saw that need. And currently, because of funds that we have been able to raise through the Christmas catalog with GMI, we have helped the church build a better kitchen. You can see ladies cooking in the kitchen, a little bit more primitive than what we're used to. But they're feeding between about 35 people on average on Sunday mornings, between children and adults, and it's bringing them to church. It's a blessing to the church. It's a blessing to the whole community because of what has been provided through this ministry of breakfast.
We also are privileged, as Cathy mentioned before, to have Paulo and Patty Vergara working there as missionaries in Bolivia. Paulo, when he was a student at Grace, did his internship with us in Bolivia, a 6-month internship in 2003. And we came to love him as a son. He called us mom and dad for a while. Now he calls us grandpa and grandma, I think. But it was exciting that after we left and came back in 2004, Paulo went down to Bolivia in 2005, had a wonderful ministry there with young people, really made an impact on the youth in our church, in our churches, in our various churches in Bolivia. Then the Lord called him through GMI to also begin to reach youth throughout Latin America. And so he went to a number of countries presenting conferences on missions to young people under another organization, but on loan from GMI. In that time, he went to Ecuador, and he married a young woman, or met and married a young woman named Patty, and she has been just a blessing to him. She's changed him. He is just settled down now, you know. They're a fine couple. The problem is that Patty has not been able to get a visa to come to the United States to help raise funds for their ministry. She has attempted 3 times, for whatever reason, has been denied. Told her she should just go to Mexico and walk across. But I shouldn't have said that, right? Okay. But as a result of that, they're still on Paulo's, the money that he raised as a single. And so their stipend is below what it should be for a married couple, especially with 2 children. Their ministry funds are below because the funds just aren't available. And one of our concerns, one of the things that we are sharing with people is Paulo and Patty really need financial support and also need your prayer support, because right now they're alone in Bolivia. They are the only missionaries left. Cathy and I are retiring once again, and we'll be here in the States ministering to our grandchildren in the years to come. But Paulo and Patty are in need of help, and we need more missionaries. So if God should lay on your heart or the heart of somebody you know to come and minister in Latin America, there's a real need there to come alongside Paulo in the working of the Centro Bíblico de la Gracia, but also in other ministries as well. Thank you.
Right now, I'd like to invite up the missionary family this morning, Givemore and Sylvia. Come on up here. One of the things as they're coming up, I just want to say, here in Michigan, we are part of a region, and in all of our churches and this is when we do our missions conferences. You know, I just got to thinking, as a region, we do not put our best foot forward by bringing missionaries to Michigan in January and February, and so as I think, I mean, I wish so bad you got to experience Michigan summer, not Michigan winter. This is Givemore and Sylvia, the family. This is their first time experiencing cold like this, and so they brought a ray of sunshine just in their clothing, which is wonderful. So yeah. So I just wanted to just introduce them really quick. So Givemore and Sylvia, and so I'm going to turn it over to them. All right?
Can you see my legs shaking from down there? If you don't, that's good. That gives me a little bit of confidence. I'm Givemore. And this is Sylvia, my wife. And we came along, our daughter, Ash Barak, Bukata, who's 18, and also Jay, Nathan. Many of you would know, am I doing the right thing here? Yeah, I'm pressing. Is this something to do with the cold? Probably. Oh, I had it switched off. So, but we are blessed with four kids. The first one being Tashanaj, Nyakambiri, and many of you may know our second daughter who's studying at Grace Christian University. Her name is Heather, but she prefers to be called Makanash. Jay is the guy that you've been praying for 3.5 years. He was diagnosed with a cancer called leukemia in 2018, the beginning of 2018, and he's gone through the ups and downs that comes with chemotherapy. To see us standing up here this morning is mainly because God answered your prayers. We couldn't have done this alone. We couldn't have walked this journey alone. It wasn't anything that was so easy on us. He went through episodes that left us wondering if he was going to be alive the next minute even. At one time, we woke up in the middle of the night, and he was having severe difficulties in breathing. Actually, he was finding it really hard to breathe, and we rushed him to the clinic in the morning hours of the day. It was around, I think, around 12 a.m. And when we got to the clinic, the doctors had no clue as to what is happening with this kid and how they were going to solve it as quickly as is possible. And at that point, his palms started to change color. His eyes starting to roll, and he was jerking. And our prayer at that point was, if it is your will, let it be. It was the toughest, hardest time of our life with this young fella. But thank you for standing with us. In so many ways, you've encouraged us through emails, support, financially, and here he is, healthy, running back and forth. I don't know if I should say as naughty as ever, but I don't need to embarrass him. Thank you. So we are from Southern Africa, from a country called Zimbabwe, but we are currently working in Malawi alongside the family of Joseph Asong, Sue and Bill Vinton. We are working alongside Brooke Seekins, and also working with Titus and Christy Lloyd, alongside Eric and Mercy Mango, a great team to work with. But we are in transition, moving from Malawi, heading to Mozambique, where God called us to work. He called us to work in Mozambique in the year 2015, but we couldn't go to Mozambique in the time that we had planned because our son had to receive treatment at the hospital in Malawi. So we had to wait for God to heal our son so that we could have freedom to move to work in Mozambique. Mozambique is one of Grace Ministries International new field, fulfilling the vision that was set in the year 2013, which they dubbed Vision 2023, to open 8 new fields. And fields are places where GMI, Grace Ministries International, sends missionaries to go and partner with local churches there and plant churches and do the various ministries. So Mozambique is one of those. And at the end of this year, my family and I will be moving to work in the country of Mozambique. There are so many religions that we can talk about that are present in Mozambique, but the largest of them is Christianity, but which is about 60%. Of that 60%, you see that there is only 15% that represents evangelical churches in Mozambique. So one of our goals in going in Mozambique is to really work with those few people that Kennedy Simtowe and Sophia Simtowe was working with. Want to go and partner with those people so that we advance the gospel in Mozambique. 64 of the population of Mozambique, which is 31 million people, lives in rural areas. And it is in the rural areas where there is very little or very few trained church leaders, very few trained pastors, very few material available even for people to use in the churches, also in their local language, which is Portuguese. The roads, therefore, in the rural areas where we would concentrate on is something like that. They are very, very difficult roads to travel in. They're mostly dirt roads. And but when we in Mozambique, at one point we got stuck in the mud on the road, going to minister to the people in Pemba. But when we got stuck, we didn't lose heart. We took that advantage to share the gospel with the brothers that gathered there to, in a way, help us dig out our car, dig it out from the mud. Then we would like you to partner with us. We'd like to buy a fairly used vehicle, a second-hand vehicle, that would cost us 35,000 United States dollars, so that we will be able to visit these churches without so much trouble. Impossible is not really possible. If the Lord is on your side, and in whatever obstacles that we have met in ministry, that we meet in ministry, we continue to forge ahead with spreading the gospel of God. So the term impossible is not anything that we are entertaining in this endeavor of going out to share the gospel with those in the villages of Mozambique. So giving up to us is not an option. Our ministries in Mozambique are going to include evangelism, discipleship, and church planting. And we're going to meet people one-on-one, like sharing the gospel with individuals. And we are going to start, obviously, with those people that our late brother Kennedy Simtowe was working with in Mozambique. We're going to also help them, equip them with tools to reach out to others in their different areas and different communities. So we have women's Bible studies that we will conduct, men's Bible studies, and youth ministries that we are also going to be involved in. I'm continuously looking back because I can't see clearly in the front there. We have also hospital ministry that was we started when we realized that there is a lot of problems that are happening in the hospital with those people that come to hospital and they don't have any food to eat, and also they come from very, very far from the city of Lilongwe. So we step in and started a ministry to give them food aid, and many of you are involved in that, and thank you very much, because so many people are benefiting from receiving these food aids, and alongside food aid we are giving them the gospel, sharing the gospel with them in the hospital, and we also thank the hospital for giving us such an opportunity. We do counseling alongside that hospital ministry, food aid. We do counseling for those whose children, some of which are just waiting for the day to leave earth and go to be home with God when chemotherapy fails, and it fails so many times. That's why we were so grateful for your prayers that chemotherapy worked on our son. And should we say chemotherapy worked on our son, we would say, I think, and from the bottom of our hearts, it's not necessarily chemotherapy. It is God who answered your prayers. And thank you very much. And with that, you'll see to your right, to the right, one of the pictures there is counseling that we do anyway. We visited a lady whose son had just passed, and they needed someone to talk to. They needed spiritual support. And we went to the village, but we couldn't cross the river that leads to their place. And all we did is call her, cross the river, and we would sit down in the dead, and we will share the gospel. We didn't have to be at her house, but we talked to her on the roadside across the river. I'll show you the river in a moment.
Employment rate in Malawi is very, very low, and it is difficult for single mothers to take care of their families. Without training, without capital to do small businesses, they can easily fall into prostitution. We thought it would be good for us to help them with small businesses, like there on the picture, making homemade sausages that they sell later to take care of their families and taking their kids to school. sometimes it becomes a cycle. The mother will fall into prostitution, and later the child will also fall into the same trap because she's not going to school and there's no food on the table. So we are trying to break that cycle by empowering them, small businesses. And to your left, they are making popsicles that they later resell for income to help their children. And here on this picture, the impoverished women in Malawi. Malawi is considered one of the poorest countries in Africa. And it is difficult for the mothers and the children to live well in such a country. So the peanut butter business is helping them as well to take care of their family. And there's a lot of childhood death in Malawi because of malnutrition. They don't have enough food, enough good food. So the peanut butter serves as proteins to the children. So we are also helping the children to grow well, and the women taking care of their families. Like on the picture, there's a lady in blue. The husband recently, right now, is in prison. He's being served 2 years. He'll serve 2 years in prison. But she's taking care of the children. She's sending them to school through the business of peanut butter making. And with the little that they have, they are also helping to the oncology department. They are donating peanut butter to the oncology children's ward, which is very encouraging.
We are called by God to reconcile people back to Him. And to your left there is a bridge that Mama Chisomo crossed to come for spiritual counseling when her son died. This is a bridge that cannot be crossed easily, especially when you have got luggage. When you have got luggage on with you. So they use ox-drawn carts to load the carts and cross the river to the other side. But on the next picture there, when we visit some of these villages, they have difficulties making their daily meals. There is no instant anything there. Everything you have to work for, pound your grains to cook in the afternoon or in the evening. So we sometimes, while sharing the gospel with them, we get involved in what they're doing. While we pound their maize or their produce for food, we will be sharing the gospel with them at that very, very time. And I would like you to pray. If you look very closely in that picture, you see young kids and women gambling in the village. And the kids are accused of stealing money from their families to go and gamble with these ladies. And these ladies steal their own money from their husbands and come and gamble. For whatever reason, they would use the money to buy drugs. The kids and the women at the same time. So pray with us that when we go to such villages, these people will soften their hearts and hearken to the word of God and have a relationship with God. Please pray, because this is something that breaks our hearts. To walk in a village, and there will be so many of such groupings of kids and women gambling. What we are involved in is we are not just engaged in some vague philanthropic exercise. We are dealing with life and death. And we had better get on with this business of proclaiming the gospel of Christ. This has to do with life and death, brothers and sisters. We are not just doing this because we have to do this. We are not just doing this for the sake of doing this. We are not doing this to help these people with their physical lives. No. We are doing this that they may see the love of Christ in their lives and make a choice individually to receive Christ as their Lord and personal Savior. I don't know how in your life are doing the ministry of reconciliation. There's so many ways of doing the ministry of reconciliation. You may go out personally and share Jesus Christ in your community, in this town. You can. You can share Jesus Christ at your workplace. You can do the ministry of reconciliation by praying for missionaries. You can also do the ministry of reconciliation by joining missionaries in the field. We'll be going to Mozambique, and we would like you to go with us. Pack your bags. Let's go to Mozambique and share the gospel. They need you there. They need us there. The other way you can do the ministry of reconciliation is to support missionaries financially. You will be doing a ministry of reconciliation. The other way of doing the ministry of reconciliation is find any way that God speaks to you to encourage missionaries who are in the field. I'd like to thank you for those who already partnered with us, and also want to ask you to partner with us. And the details are up there, but also we set up a desk in the kitchen there. So you can come at our desk, pick up a prayer card, and we'll stay in touch with you. May God bless you. Thank you.
In Romans chapter 10, verse 13, it says this: everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. And it's a great verse. It's such a clear verse. And the question is, what are we saved from? I mean, we're saved from an eternity without Jesus Christ, an eternity in hell. And hell is a real place. And it's a place that I wouldn't want to see anybody go to. But it's not just that we're saved from an eternity in hell, which certainly is really good. We're saved from that to go to heaven, which is awesome. But we're also saved from ourselves. You know, when I think about how we live this life, man, we can get ourselves into an awful lot of trouble. And when I think about the things that we depend on, you know, we depend on our flesh, we depend on our own self-efforts just to get through life. And it says, everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. So we are saved from hell, but we are also saved from ourselves. So the question is, you know, and we've all heard the gospel, which is fantastic. But there are many who haven't, and which is why the next verse says this: how then can they call on the one they have not believed in? And how can they believe in the one of whom they have not heard? And how can they hear without someone preaching to them? How can they preach unless they are sent? And I love this. As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news. You know, as I think about that verse, we are a sending ministry. We are a sending ministry. And we send missionaries out in multiple ways. We are grateful for the missionaries who have gone out from this church. As I look out, we have Joe and Michelle Campos. Joe's not here. We have Michelle Campos, who's from Brazil. And we're so happy to have Michelle and Joe and be able to partner with the whole family as they're working down there in Brazil. What's happening? We're also here. I see we have Jeremy Clark over there. He's the director of Grace Ministries International. And it's great to be able to have missionaries who are here. Well, you didn't get the chance to hear from Joseph yet today. He's going to be next week. But we've got missionaries, not just to mention Givemore and Sylvia and Frosty and Cathy. There are so many people who are going around the world because they've been sent out. And the people who allow it to happen is churches just like us. Our support, our prayers, our encouragement, the pats on the back, the emails. I can't tell you how many times, I'll get a prayer email from one of the missionaries, and I just send them a little quick email back. Hey, I read your thing. Thank you for doing this. I will pray for this. It's a short email, and then I get an email back. Thank you for emailing us. We never hear back from people when we send these out. We wonder if people read them. It's like just a little thing to be able to encourage. And so that's how we send them. And so right now, as we wrap up our service, we're going to do a sending of missionaries. Now, we have multiple missionaries here, but I want to focus just today on those who you heard from, Frosty and Cathy, and Givemore and Sylvia and their families. And so for those missionaries, I would like for you guys to come right up front here and just stand right here. And then we as a church are going to send them. And the way we're going to send them is we're going to pray for them. I will pray, so I'm not going to put you on the spot to pray, but there's something about something physical, something tangible. You got out of your seat, you came down, you put your hands out, maybe you put your hand on a shoulder and then another shoulder, and you know what? I'm going to pray over COVID right now that COVID will not transfer as we come together and do this, all right? All right? Because I believe it is important that these missionaries feel our support. Not just say, oh yeah, they were together, but they feel our support. If you can't get out of your seat, I understand that. If you're sick today and you decided to come and bless us anyway, stay in your seat. You don't need to get up. But if you're feeling well or whatever, I would love for the church, just as we wrap up our service, to come around the missionaries as we send them out to do their work. All right? So at this point, I'd like to have Frosty and Cathy, and Givemore and Sylvia and the family, come on down. And I'm sure we will catch you guys next week, right? All right, because we will pray for you guys next week. So come on down front here, guys. And then everybody else, make your way. Frosty and Cathy, you guys come over more to the middle here. There we go. And then everybody else, just come on down, okay? And feel free to just, even if you want to, stay in your seat. You can just put your hand out. You can do whatever. We just want to bless, and we want to send our missionaries out. So come on around. You can come to the back, however it is. As we wrap up our service today. I love seeing this. Yeah, there's room around the back here if you want to come back. All right. Lord, these are beautiful feet right here. And as I think about how each one of these families has been or continues to be a part of bringing the good news of Jesus Christ to people, Lord, we are humbled. We have it pretty good here in America in terms of conveniences of life and in terms of access to medical care, whatever those things. When people go to another country, Lord, there are things that they give up. Even for those like Givemore and Sylvia who were born and raised in Africa, but they're going to a different country. Lord, there are challenges of not being by family, not being by friends. And Lord, they're willing to give it up for one reason only, and that is because these individuals need Jesus. And so, God, I just pray for multiplied results, multiplied efforts. Lord, I pray for multiplied resolve, especially as I think of Nyakambiri as they're going to be going into Mozambique, not an easy country. I pray for them that you would really give them the strength they need. Lord, I pray for Frosty and Cathy as they had to leave behind the ministry there in Bolivia that they so dearly love because of retirement, and yet I know their heart is for this ministry to continue. So I pray for Paulo and Patty who are continuing in their absence. But God, may your gospel go forth so plainly. And Lord, may they feel that they are supported by Frontline Bible Church. We are sending them out for their work, for your work. In Jesus' name we pray all these things. And all those in agreement said, amen. You may